Hey guys, so in this little video, I'm going to talk briefly about the importance of cell size, right? And so when we talk about cells and we talk about the size of cells, it's very important to remember that all of the materials, my cat hates when I make videos. So it's very important to remember that all of the materials coming into the cell and leaving the cell must cross through the membrane. Right? And the membrane is only the very surface of the cell. Right? So stuff can only get in and get out across the surface of this cell. Okay? And so when you're talking about cells, you're talking about a unit of life that has a job to do. Right? And in order to do its job, it needs space to work. And so theoretically, the more cell size that you have, the more workspace that you have, and the more that that cell could get done. Okay? However, the issue arises that the larger the cell is and the more work it can do, the more materials it needs and the more trash that it is making. Right? And so it needs to get the materials in and it needs to get the trash out. Right? And in order to do so, that stuff has to go across the surface of that cell. Right? And as you increase the cell size, okay, the proportion of surface area to overall volume goes down. So the bigger your cell is, the smaller your surface area to volume ratio is, which is an issue because if you have a small surface area, can't get stuff in and out of the cell, right? And so there's this kind of a Goldilocks situation where a cell wants to be just the right size, where it has enough room to do its work efficiently and effectively, but also it has enough surface area to get the materials in and out that it needs to get in and out. Okay? And here's a little model that demonstrates that. So this tiny little cell would have a very high surface area to volume ratio. So it can move stuff in and out a lot more quickly in proportion to its own size than this cell here. Right? But obviously this cell has a lot more space to do work in. And so the cells are trying to find this balance of what size to be. And different cells are going to be different sizes because they have different jobs and different functions. Right, so if you're a cell that needs to secrete a lot of material, right, like a gland, then you're not going to be very big. Right? Your gland cells are going to be smaller because they're going to move a lot of stuff in and out. Whereas if you're a cell whose main role is connective tissue, right, then you can be large because you're not moving a lot of stuff in and out of yourself. You're just there to be a structural component. Right? And so things like the epithelial cells in our cheeks don't have a lot in the way of cellular mechanisms going on. So they can be very large. Right? You can take a little scraping of your cheek, slap it on a slide, throw some dye on there, and you can see those bad boys. They're big. They're big old cells. Maybe we'll do that in class. Maybe we'll look at some cheek cells just because it's fun. Is it fun? I think it's fun. And that's what matters the most. Me. Bye.